Thank you for joining us on the Family First Life Health and Wealth podcast. Please like us on all of our platforms at Family First Life Health and Wealth. I hope this information helps you grow and learn. Please share this with everybody you know, all your friends, all your family. We're hiring all across the country. Be well. Welcome to the Health and Wealth Podcast. My name is Steve Giordano. I am truly honored, fired up to have an awesome guest, my main man from FFL 320, Caleb Amoros, board member. How you doing today, brother?
I'm blessed, brother. I'm so blessed. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm excited to be here.
You are someone that I've wanted to talk to for a while because you definitely came in with a lot of high business acumen. You've done some amazing things so far, you and your team. And I think one of the biggest things I learned from you guys at the Tri-State meeting was, you know, your whole group and team, it's just such camaraderie. And there's no ego, it seems. Everybody just pulls on the rope. And it's something that I'm trying to, you know, take back to my agency here as well. So I just want to thank you for that, first of all.
Well, thank you. No, and I appreciate you saying that. I think it hasn't been easy. I'm excited we, started to do that from day one. It goes a little bit also to our foundation. We all go to the same church together. We're working on like nonprofit inner city youth programs in Chicago. So I think it helps us to have that, same also Christ-like mentality and things like that. So that's what we do, not pushing it on anyone, but it's what's helped us. So we're excited for it. Thank you for pointing it out.
Well, I love it. So let's start here. I like to talk a lot about entrepreneurship on this podcast. I try to be a little bit different than the typical FFL. And I want to kind of start, early on for you. Did you grow up with an entrepreneurial background in your family? Did it come later in life?
Yeah, that's a great question. My grandma on my mom's side, my grandma came from Honduras and just got to the States one way or another and started selling Avon in the streets of Chicago and the streets of New York. I'm sorry. So she was just hustling day to day, out there making it happen to be able to bring her family over to the States. And then on my dad's side, same thing. My grandpa came to the States working, just worked. He actually was a janitor at the Hoover Building in New York. And he just, for many, many years, he just worked hard to provide for us. And probably more on my mom's side, the entrepreneurial side, the work ethic from my dad, the entrepreneurial mindset, a little bit work smart, not hard, right, from my mom's side. But so, yeah, it has been embedded into us. And and even at a young age, I started selling. We would come to the States. My dad is a missionary in the Dominican Republic. And when we would come to America, I would bring cell phones that I would buy in thrift stores, such as any cell phones, and then sell them in the Dominican, just trying to just make money, going back to the Caribbean, selling a cell phone. So that's funny. That's just what I used to do. No one's ever asked me that. So it makes me laugh when you ask that. Yeah.
So how old were you when you actually moved to the U.S.?
So I was born here. I left when I was 5 years old. And then I came back when I was 17 years old.
Oh, wow. Okay. Got it. All right, cool. So now, as a 17-year-old in the States, what was your passion and your vision then? Like, did you go to college?
Yeah. So, right off the bat, like I mentioned earlier, it's my story, and my dad working with orphanages and churches in the Dominican Republic. Steve, I had a lot of passion to just really help people, more because I grew up, Steve, with understanding what people didn't have access to. You know what I mean? Like I truly understood what it was for people many times not have enough to put food on their table. And I remember as growing up, going and helping families with that. I remember when I was a kid, my mom would make sure I would take carry-ons full of clothes that as a kid, I didn't want to carry that through 3 airports from Chicago to the Caribbean and all these layovers because we're getting the cheapest flights we could. And but we started um, helping people with that. And I remember then taking that clothes and giving it to someone. So as a child, it helped me understand that. So when I came to the States, I decided I wanted to do business to fund some sort of organization that I can try to help people. And I'm not saying that to just trying to be boastful in that, but it's just how I grew up. It's what I saw, and it made such an impact in me that I went to college for family counseling, theology type of deal. And then it really started helping me understand also how people think and how you can really get that trust level. Because with Family First and what we do or in business in general, Steve, it's all about if people trust you. Number one, people are not going to listen to what you have to say. They don't like you. And they're not going to truly get into business with you in sacrificial type business where we have these big businesses, right? Like Tesla, they were sleeping in their garage and they went broke almost so many times. And Elon Musk talks so much about that. That's sacrificial type business. Well, people aren't going to get into sacrificial business with you if they don't trust you. So they won't listen to what you say, they don't like you, and they won't really, get into business, sacrificial business if they don't trust you. So that helped me understand a little bit how to structure the business. So back to your question, that's a little bit of my story there and how I got into the US and how I wanted what to do, went to college and things to do. So.
All right. So now, as still a young man, which you are today, you got into it was insurance first or insurance second from a business perspective? Insurance first.
No, a great question. So I actually got into e-commerce, I guess you can call it, with Amazon. I was in college. Honestly, I was broke, man, waiting tables, just trying to, make money. And then I remember learning that you can get just books from the book. I was on YouTube all the time, Steve, just trying to see how I can make money. So I was like, okay, great. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and I watched a YouTube video of how this guy was making, I think it was like $2,000 a week or $1,500 profit. And I was like, man, if I can make that type of money, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. I'm like, you make $2,000 a week profit, selling books through Amazon. So I decided to go out to thrift stores in my time when I could early in the morning before class, get some books, scan them, throw them in a box, send them to Amazon. And then it just became a mess. You can think about trying to do all that from a dorm room in college, dealing with then sending wrong books and all that type of stuff, man. I remember I got in trouble because they would have these boxes that would come into the university with my names on it because they would return them because I either put the wrong marker color or things like that. But that's how I got started with Amazon. And then I went into the insurance field. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. It's so interesting. The one thing you said there that's really, really key to me, you hopped on YouTube and you went to go learn how to do something, right? And what's so amazing, there's so many people that say like, hey, I can't figure out how to do this or that, or I can't, or even here, like, hey, how do I figure out how to do this? It's like, go to YouTube. We live in the information age. It's all there.
Yeah, make it happen. Yeah, you're right.
So now you turn and you look into insurance. So what was the first thing that appealed to you about insurance?
Yeah, I think for me, well, number one, if you just look at the statistics or Forbes magazine, all the different stuff that's out there, right? Like you said, information, the commissions and the financial industry, I know there can be a lot into that, and I could be wrong with the statistic. That's something that at the time I read was the most, where people made the most money in America. You know what I mean? It was through the financial industry or / commissions, right? So I started thinking, okay, to me, it's always been simple. I've always learned if I want to do something and be good at this, let me go find someone that's doing it and do that, right? But Steve, what I lacked was I didn't move quick enough. I've always, I'm good with structure systems. I like to do that. I'm not perfect at it, but it's something I like to do, which is why I hate that I made you wait so long. And then I'm asking you, where's the link? Because I'm just like over here making you wait. So sorry about that. But I remember reading about it, but I was overthinking it. And that's the biggest thing that I've had to overcome because I always overthink things, but I was knocking doors. I've always had high activity though. So either if I'm overthinking the next step, I'm always doing though, right? So I was knocking doors for a lawn care company, just a side job I had while I was doing Amazon. And I knocked on the door of a State Farm insurance owner, and he talked to me then specifically about insurance and specifically about how it works. And then he really sold me on the idea of renewals and residuals, how you can build your book of business, make money then in the long term after a set amount of years, and how it's still going to be bringing money in. So that's how I got into insurance. And then I remember he sent me a link. I went, scheduled my test. And then from there, I just started being on the phone, selling life insurance on the phone.
And what year was this? How many years ago was this?
This was, let's see, 2021. This was around 2016, end of 2016, Steve.
All right, so 5 years ago. So now you're in this company, you're selling over the phone. Were you having instant success at selling? Was it a struggle? What did that look like?
Yeah, at the beginning, it was a little bit of a struggle, Steve, because I was used to just doing like hard closes, at door to door, whether Comcast or whatever it was that I was doing. And I tried to bring that a little bit into where I took away that emotion of the insurance, of the life insurance, the stories, you know what I mean? That's what helped me here. Like that Brian Mendenhall in our original, boot camp that everybody used before. He had Brian Mendenhall's story in there, things like that. I wasn't good at doing that. And again, more because I was structured, trying to get down to the system of it, or trying to just follow this process. I would forget that there was real people involved. This was a product that would truly help them, which is what I love about what we do, how we just truly help people. And I never forget my first claim and doing that with the lady losing her husband. But when I got in, it was a struggle for me because I was trying to just sell, and not really put the client first.
Yeah, got it. Okay. Did you have an ability there to build an actual business and agency? Was it something that you started to do, or did you not really do that until you came over to FFL?
Great question, Steve. I think there was an opportunity to do it, but it was just to me, what I was making was not enough to have that like initial buy-in of the 25, 30,000, or to sign a lease. That's the one thing about what we do here, right? That our cash flow, inspires us. Mm-hmm. I mean, we just signed a 5-year lease. It's like over $500,000 for this big space. But we're inspired because of the cash we make, right? We believe in what we're doing. So I think back then I just wasn't making enough, or probably that cash flow wasn't there. That the opportunity was there, but it never really made me want to pursue it because I was still trying to provide for me and my family, Yeah. So yeah, and I could have been better. I'm not saying that the opportunity, I couldn't have done it there, but it's just probably a mixture of immaturity and a lack of cash flow. I would, to be specific, sure, make me think about that.
It's interesting when you say that. You think about the way Sean has structured the company, and you said a very key thing, inspired kind of by the cash. We give such high comp, like we hire people. You have a huge team, board member. You hire people. We know you give high comp, and you're now inspiring them to build the businesses under you just the same way that Sean did, hence why we are the biggest IMO. So any businesses out there, you might want to follow that because it truly does work.
Yeah, I love that. No, I love that. And I think that it's like you're saying, we want to get to the top, but if you're there by yourself, and it's like, dude, it's like, but if you bring people with you, now you really help them. And really, I think the wise principle, even the Bible talks about, if you're wise, but then if you have friends, because, riches can, take wings and fly away. We just saw COVID, right? Thank God our industry, we did really good during that because we were able to help people in that process. But what if you and me were in the car industry, Steve, or something different, right? Riches can change overnight, but then those friendships and those relationships that you have can really help. And when we put people in front, and with the opportunity, family first life, and what this can do for people when they truly understand it is so unbelievable. It's life-changing.
Yeah, no doubt. So what would you say your best year was at your prior company selling insurance, and then kind of what brought you to FFL?
Oh man, because I never really focused only on life. It was also car and home and stuff like that. But my best month for sure. Do you say best year or month? Sorry, what did you say there?
Say year.
My best year. Steve, probably 60 grand, 70 grand. You know what I mean? Nothing crazy.
Now Matt Borsch writes that in like a weekend.
Crazy, man. I'm telling you. It's crazy to understand and believe it, but it's the high comp and what we offer.
It's insane. So now you're doing that. Best year 60. You come across FFL. Where did you see it, and how were you drawn into it?
Yeah. So great question. Actually, I was at a public, kind of like a public marketing type of event in a booth, getting leads and trying to see now. Just saying that is so funny. Right? I'm out there taking a whole day of my week trying to produce leads. thinking I'm not spending money to do it because they're free leads, you know, if we're giving out a turkey or whatever. But you just gave your whole day. So how much worth was I per hour?
Now you can buy them $11, bro. $11, and we'll give you 50% on work spots. Like, you have to stay at the mall.
It's insane, man. What we have here, it's so amazing. So all that to say, I was out trying to generate leads, free leads or whatever, and a gentleman came up to me and asked me, "Hey, how much compensation do you make?" He saw my badge with the company I was at. And I said, I kind of blew him off because I wanted this guy to keep moving. I was trying to get, attract clients or to the booth. And I told him, I was like, bro, I said, we have the best. We pay 60 to 80% when you hit your bonus. That's literally what I said to him. And he goes, this was at the end of 2019, mid 2019 or 2020. Yeah, sorry, 2019, my bad. And I said, we have the best. And he goes, well, I hear this company that pays 100 to 145% comp. And I literally told them, Steve, I said, bro, that's a lie. No one pays that amount of compensation. I told him, no one pays that. I told him I've worked in the industry for 5 years and I've never heard of that. Over here, I'm talking like I'm some expert at it, and I'm like, no one pays that. Well, he sends me the video to Family First Life. And he never came back to check up, or he didn't take my number or anything. But I remember he gave me the video. He wrote it in a piece of paper, what to look on YouTube. And I looked up the YouTube video the next day, that same night. I saw the video, called my buddy Gabe, let him know about it. And then my friend Sam, I called him too. And then what I ended up doing was I Googled Family First Life, and the one office that came up was FFL Universe, which is Ivan and Aurora. And which just tells you the beauty of having an office following the structure of this business. Because if Ivan wouldn't have had an office there, God knows who would have had $1 million under their hierarchy, right? Or whatever with what we do. So all that to say, I called and called and called because during COVID, they weren't at the office. Then the next morning she got back to me, a young lady from his office set me an appointment with Ivan, and it's been history ever since, man. Wow. So that's kind of how I got into FFL. It's crazy. That is a very good thing that you just said there with the office component, right? Why couldn't you have Googled Coral Springs, Florida? I mean, come on. I get you. Right? I mean, look, when you set up your business and you spend money and you invest, correct, things are going to be set up where you're going to look like a real business, and people are going to. I had the same scenario today. I had a girl, hopefully she's the next Caleb Amoros. She calls me and she says, "Hey, I was looking up offices and I found yours." I'm like, "Great. Welcome to the team." You know what I mean? So that's a great testament to investing in your business. So now you get going and you have your buddies here, right? You have Gabe, you have, some others here. How did that start in the beginning as far as how you structured things, how you were just, in lockstep together? Because I think that's probably the biggest key to your success. Yeah, that's a great point, Steve. I'll be honest, it was hard at the beginning, bro. Yeah, it really was, because I was never a crazy big producer, because from day one, I wanted to build. And that was my biggest mistake, because to build, you should be writing the most at the beginning, right? Until your VP bonus grows and all that, right? So that was my biggest. I was always, again, because I overthink everything, right? But I was trying to write and then also manage at the office and creating that support. But at the same time, I'm glad I did that too. One benefit of it, because I was there for my staff the same way we want to be there for our agents. You got to inspect what you expect. So I was putting time with our staff as well, because it was all new to all of us. This was new to everyone. And I should have just plugged in more to the structure, let Ivan help me more. I should have let Mark help me more, because I wanted to grow, right? So what I started doing was, I remember month over month depositing 30,000, 25 to 30,000 in my account. Like, that's insane, just saying that. So then I became money hungry. It was kind of like, it was good, but I also had the negative vibe, because then I started seeing, okay, well, other agents want to do that. So what I had this idea that I said, okay, if we do this, me and Gabe got together, and I told Gabe, I said, look, you're so good at talking to agents on the phone. I remember he was just great at spending the time, being patient. He could talk of the same subject 100 different ways until it clicked. Like he loves seeing that through. To me, it was like, dude, I'm going to explain this one time in 2 minutes. Here's a video. Don't ever ask me about
Figure
it
it
again.
out.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So obviously there's a balance to that, because then we were hiring so much warm market, Steve, that if I went to sit with my buddy Matt in church and Gabe, I can't just hang up the phone on Matt after 2 minutes and tell him to go figure it out, because I'm going to see you tomorrow in Bible class or in church, right? So it was that balance that then we started realizing, oh, okay, so we actually could do this together. So we went in together without the process, really expectation or structure. So a lot of people don't know this, but after a few months, we had a big fallout. Me and Gabe actually went our separate ways after a while, because it was just so frustrating. I was trying to make him do things he didn't want to do. He was trying to make me things that I didn't want to do. We didn't have the right business structure in place, which is so important. I love that you're doing this podcast with the business mindset, because this is a business. You know what I mean? This truly is, if you're the chief of operations, you shouldn't be doing what the marketing director is doing or whatever, right? You should treat it like a real business. So then after a while, we started growing, but then we started having, again, issues, because what he was really good at, my agents needed my agents for the agents. And then what I really needed, he was really good at. So we got back together, we put our egos aside. And that's what, to answer your first question, is when Sean Mike really taught us that you can't have a big ego and a big business, that hit home to me. And I have been one guy that, even though I overthink things though, but when they're logical and they do make sense, I just move on it right away. So I remember Gabe came up to me and said, hey, don't you think we should merge again? We got together, we treated it like a business that time. We had an SOP, a standing operating procedure, and we put those processes in place to really know our KPIs, key point indicators, all of that. And now we really started to see that explosive growth. But at the beginning, it was hard because I had to let go of some of that cash. Yeah. And I made some decisions, again, not to be boastful, but because of where I grew up, seeing that people didn't have a lot, Steve, it was easy for me to have delayed gratifications. Dude, our bonus is almost $50,000 this month. I'm still driving a 2012 Chevy Cruze. It looks great. It has a little crack in the bumper that drives me crazy, but I'm okay with it. It has 100,000 miles. I know I could go get a car, pay, or have a payment plan, but I want to put every dollar truly into this business to really get to that $100,000 bonus per month. So that's kind of my own rule.
Yeah, you just got perfect right to my next point, and thank you for sharing and being transparent in everything that you're sharing here, because I think it's amazing. You've talked about pouring everything in, and I think a lot of people, myself included, we do it and then we maybe don't pour it all in, right? Like, I spend a ton, like, don't get me wrong, but could I spend more to get to my ultimate goal? Of course I could, 100%. Everybody could. How did you structure yourself and your life when now, okay, you're hitting 500, 700, you're getting yourself up to that bonus, to not spend, to have the delayed gratification? And how did you spend, really, this is the bigger question, when you weren't making the $50,000 bonus?
For sure. That's a phenomenal question. So practical. So number one, everyone is different. Okay. Everyone's in a different scenario. I don't have kids, so I'm not going to look at you, Steve, and say you should be on the same budget that I am. Okay. Like, let's be honest, right? Number two, I live in Indiana. You live in Florida. Obviously, probably different costs, right? Where we're at. But the one thing we can all do is, number one, we all need to set benchmarks. Okay. Sacrificial benchmarks. And for me, the first one was I had to talk with my wife, because of course I had to be like, okay, so babe, this is what I want to do. This is this opportunity. Give me 24 months. So really, which you're about to be up in like 2-3 months. So which we're going to take a long vacation, because we didn't for that long time. See, we did go on some mini getaways, but we didn't go on any crazy 5 to 7 day vacation. Now, so I had to talk with my wife to make sure there was communication. So if you're a person listening to this, you're married or you're in a relationship, whatever, right? You have to have communication with who is involved with the money, right? So that's what I did, number one. Then number two, wrote out my budget. It's funny how we talk about these things, and it's like, again, this is a business. You have to have a budget, right? You got to know what you spend. So for me, some practical steps, Steve, was I didn't take a car payment. I was paying $700 a month for rent. And I truly, like my wife and I, we went out to eat once a week. That's just what we did. And we had a limit of $50. You may think, I know it sounds crazy, but that's what we did. We would go spend $50 wherever we were at, and just, you can go eat at Chipotle, wherever, right? So those are some little practical steps we took there, Steve. And I didn't have any debt. That's the other thing I've done in life. I've never taken debt. I think that's something my dad taught me. Through school, I worked 2 to 3 jobs, many times to the extent that my health, it wasn't the wisest thing to do, but it did teach me that work ethic. And sometimes people listen to it and think, well, that's crazy. Well, Elon Musk, going back to him, because I love reading about his biography. Yep. One time he had to, when he sold PayPal, a lot of people don't know that he created PayPal. When he sold PayPal, he had to decide, can I either get a warehouse for this car idea I have, or an office, right? Or do I go get an apartment? And this guy and his brother were living in the office that they rented, and they would shower at the YMCA. Like, that's crazy, right? But these big things, these radical changes that make us move, whatever that change for you is, taking little steps toward it, that it was for me and my wife, making some decisions where we didn't spend everything. And then going back to the last question, now that we're at that $100,000 bonus, but how did we get there? Well, that's what it is. I always paid myself enough to have what we needed. And for me and my wife, because we lived in Indiana, we didn't have debt. Again, everyone's different. But for her and I, it was $970 net deposited into our account. So $970 a week. We were able to, $700 for rent, only us 2, groceries, go out to eat. We didn't have any debt in our cars. And then my wife worked part-time, nothing crazy. She bringing in $2,000 a month, something like that. So we had enough, about $4 or $5 grand, which, if you think about it, Steve, you can live with that, if you don't have, you're not in a costly area, things like that. So I hope I didn't over talk with that one, but that's kind of what we did. That's our story.
I think that's amazing, because I think the first thing I'm going to take away from that is that the 2-year benchmark, right? And then the other thing, and I talk about this a lot, in general terms, getting your family, your wife, your spouse, your kids, everybody on board in the sacrifice of 2 years. You also set yourself up for, hey, in 2 years, we're going to go on a vacation, and you better be taking her on a good one. I'm going to make sure of it.
Yeah, we are. We're going to the Caribbean for a good time, so it's going to be fun.
And then throwing back on the system of, okay, in a lot of scenarios, in 2 years, you wouldn't be able to create that. But in 2 years at FFL, you can. It's not like you had to go sacrifice the next 25 years of your life.
Yeah.
Which is amazing.
It's amazing. No, and you're right. And I think that, again, it comes back to believing in ourselves and in what we are doing, but you got to be part of that process, right? People that don't understand the building side many times is because they don't have that foundation of, they went out and did it for themselves. Mm-hmm. When you can deposit 30 grand, $35,000, and then you can share that with other people. But then what's amazing is what corporate Sean Mike and what everyone's doing to be building this structure and process for us. So these podcasts that we're doing now, right? The conversion conversation we had with Sean at Founders Day, all the different type of stuff that's going on to truly believe in ourselves that we can make it happen. And I think that's what's so important. Going back to what you asked me, surrounding ourselves, it was hard at the beginning, but Steve, now it's so productive that we have people around us and around me that can help me, because I'm not good at everything. I may be good at 1 or 2 things, but then in my business, when I can have Gabe or Joe Basso jump in to help in an area that I'm weak at, now that helps you grow. And now that allows you to work with other people and to just really enjoy the fruit of the labor while you're in that grinding stage, right? And while you're trying to make it happen.
Yeah. Here's a final question, and it's kind of one for me personally. How do you manage the ebbs and flows and struggles? Like, we all struggle in this business each and every day. I don't care if you're me, the top producer, the top agency owner, we all have our things each and every day. How does Caleb manage his mind and the ebbs and flows of the business?
It's awesome. That's a great point, Steve. So obviously it's a very detailed question. So I don't mean to push my belief or religion on anyone. So I'm just going to share really what I do. But number one, first is, I think there's a divine principle just embedded into the DNA of just our existence, which is obviously you reap what you sow, right? So I think that when you truly, truly do this for other people to win. So when you really decide, I want to go invest and help people. So our name of our business is 320. That comes from Ephesians 3:20 in the Bible, that talks about we all have a unique power and synergy inside of us through the Holy Spirit that can help us help people. So when I saw my friend Matt when I recruited Gabe, and Gabe now, grew up in Ohio and in the projects area. Now he was able to go and help his mom, and he's in Hawaii right now selling business, but his mom is in Hawaii at the hotel at a resort enjoying. Like now when I go through the struggles, but I see that, man, I had a little part in recruiting Gabe, and now he was able to do something for his family. I had a little part in recruiting Michael Irving, and he's now changing his, financial wealth for him and his family. His team's doing $500K per month with Matt Borsch. When you truly put people in front of you and you help those people and you're in the trenches with them, day to day, new things will pop up where now you see them have success while you're having failure. But if you corner yourself by yourself and you're having failure, well, then failure is what's around you. But when I'm with other people that I've helped and I've tried to get there and they're having success, my days in failure, I can focus on their success. So really that 320 talks about doing exceedingly and abundantly all that we ask or think, how God can bless us. And there's a divine principle that when you help people, I think there's a supernatural strength that comes to us. I love the name of your team, Health and Wealth, because what's the point of having this wealth if you don't have that, mental health or physical health? And I think one mindset too is whether meditation and thinking in the morning, okay, what are my goals? How much closer am I to get to them? And at the same time, prayer for me is a big thing, praying for things, seeing God answer things, and then giving. Giving is so important, Steve. Gabe and I were able to, obviously just today, being able to give to the Dream Center, seeing everything that Sean Mike is doing. But for our big one, really, which everybody sees that 1 million per month number. Hopefully this month we reach 1.5, we will. And, but we went to Africa, and it was during a time where in our business, it probably wasn't the smartest thing to go for 5 days to Africa and do an orphanage because there was so much going on. But we went there, we were able to give a good amount of money and see kids that literally children that were orphans, their parents left them in public places. But being able to give to those in the midst of your struggles. I think there's a principle that when you give, when you're hurting, it comes back and blesses you. And it's setting those goals. Now seeing at the end of the year, man, this is insane. I remember when I messaged you my first month into the business, and I always had the mindset, I want to reach out to the number one producer. And at that time, you had just started to be the number one producer in FFL. And I messaged you in Facebook, I got 4:30 in the morning, and you answered like in 5 minutes. And you're like, hey, you said I got a slot open from 2 to 2:10 Eastern. And I called you and we got on the phone and you helped me. And seeing what now my goals were to reach 30, 40 issue paid a month, but then now as an agency, 1.5 million in a 5-week month. That's amazing, man. So setting those those goals and seeing them come to fruition, giving to other people, and just living sacrificially, you can really help people.
I love it, man. I think it's amazing the way that you model your agency. I love the word and the gospel. I'm a believer in the Lord myself, and I 100% believe in everything that you're talking about, and I love it, and I love your group. This has been amazing, and I just want to thank you for really blazing a trail for what you're doing on just such a selfless group that you have. You guys just really work together, and it's something now I'm looking to take on to my group. Anything that I can do for you, I'm here for you.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Steve. It's been an honor. Again, so sorry to make you wait and have you wait around and change things on you, but it's been a great year. It's an amazing opportunity. Anyone listening to this, just try it out. The worst thing that can happen is it doesn't work out for you, but try it out. Why not bet on yourself and allow yourself to, to do that? Now more with 18,000 writing agents in November. I've always thought of something. If it works for 18,000 people, I think I can make it work for myself. So it's an amazing opportunity. Thank you, Steve. It's an honor to be on, man. I appreciate it.
All right, bro. I look forward to seeing you soon. Have a great Christmas, you and your family, and thanks for everything.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it, brother. Have a good one. God bless.
Take care.